I'm Cassidy Creech. I teach marketing at Utah State, and this talk is about something that I didn't expect to find. I didn't really set out to do this, um, and I wasn't looking for this, but I'm so excited that I found it. Specifically, this is about AI. Everybody is writing AI policies right now, but it seems like almost nobody is asking students what they actually think. So I asked mine. And what came back flipped a lot of my assumptions and it changed the way that I teach. It certainly runs counter to a lot of the narratives that are out there across the country and around the world in academia. And here's where we're headed today. What students really told me, why our usual reactions to AI missed the mark, and a simple way to redesign a class around doing instead of just listening. So let's get into it. Now, I'm sure you've seen this. You're aware of what has happened at some graduations around the country. Um, just picture it. The graduation's happening, big name executive gets up and starts talking about how AI is going to change everything, and the graduates start booing. This actually happened more than once. Just specific cases. Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO, he got booed at Arizona, and then a record label CEO really got it at Middle Tennessee State, and he doubled down with saying, "Deal with it." The easy takeaway is obvious that students are scared of AI. The polls seem to back it up. About 70% of students say that AI threatens their job prospects. So hold on to that assumption for a second because what my own students told me doesn't quite line up with it. And I think it goes a bit deeper than simply saying that AI is what is threatening their job prospects. This is where it gets interesting. Everybody assumes that students are afraid of AI, but there's a real difference between asking someone, "What do you think about AI?" which kind of plants the idea. It's leading the witness. It's just at There's a difference between asking them what their thoughts are about AI and simply asking them what is on their mind. That's what I did. No leading, no mention of AI. It was just three open-ended questions. And the real question underneath everything is this: what are you actually afraid of? Because that's going to point us in the direction that we should go in our classroom. Now, before I show you the data, let's name the problem. Look at how higher ed has handled AI so far. Mostly defensive, mostly top down. We rush to write integrity rules and buy detection software before we understand how students are going to use these tools. Big schools are signing multi-million-dollar contracts on behalf of people that they never asked. And the one voice missing from almost every one of these decisions is the student's voice. That's the seat I want to put back at the table. Everything after this is me trying to do exactly that. Now, a quick cautionary tale. The California state system, the biggest university system in the country, went all in on ChatGPT. $17 million deal, renewed at $13 million a year. Internally, they called it a branding opportunity. Meanwhile, their own survey of 94,000 people found 65% of students doubted that it was actually helping education. And they were staring down 140, what was it? 144 million, I think, $1 million budget cut at the time. I'm not anti-AI here. It's important that you know that. It is a massive part of every day for me. But the point here is simpler. Buying the tool is not the same as answering what students actually need. So here's what I did. In every semester, every class, I always start off with a bit of an ad hoc casual survey just to kind of set the table for the students and set the table for what we're going to accomplish in this semester. It's really fun and it's insightful. It gives me an honest view of where their mind is. In this beginning of the semester survey, I surveyed 179 students. And among the different things that we talked about in that survey, I asked them three very open-ended questions. What do you want to learn? What do you want to do with it? And What are your deepest questions about school, career, life? Just see where they go with it. And what's not here, notice no mention of AI. Never, I don't talk about the job market. I never talked about anxiety. That all those things matter because anything that the students bring up on their own, it's a floor, not a ceiling. If they volunteer unprompted, it's real. The first number that surprised me, out of 179 students, wide open answers, only two mention AI. That's nearly 1%. Think about that. All the headlines say that students are consumed by fear of the machines. But when I gave mine a blank page in total honesty, AI barely came up. So what's actually keeping them up at night? It's not robot shaped. This leads to the obvious question. If it's not AI, then what is it? What they actually bring up, even though nobody asked, about 1 in 5 students volunteered real anxiety about their economic future. In their own words, is the job market cooked? What can I do now to set myself up? Is college even worth it given the costs? How do I build a career I can actually feel good about? Now, you read those and the fear gets very clear. It's not the machine. It's the worry that the ground underneath their college degree has shifted and no one has told them if it still holds. That's not protect me from AI. That's prove what I'm doing still matters. So let's put those two findings together because this whole talk is is just one line. Students aren't booing the future. They're asking us to get them ready for it. What they want from a class is not protection, it's proof. They're saying, show me this connects to my real life, to my career. As a teacher, that changes my job completely. I'm not the gatekeeper standing between them and a tool. I don't want to restrict their use. I'm the person helping them get ready for what's coming. I need to show them how to use it. It's here. We're not getting rid of it. So we need to understand where it really fits. Everything from here on out is how to actually teach that way. So to understand why the ground shifted, why this big change has happened, I lean on Clayton Christensen. His big idea here is that when something becomes cheap and easy, the value that it has to offer moves elsewhere. Think about what AI just made basically free. AI will always be able to recall facts, summarize a reading. It will crank out a rough first draft. If those things are the only things that a class delivers, the class is in trouble. If you are hoping that students will read something or write something or remember something, the class is in trouble because AI does all of that for free. The class isn't the only thing in the trouble. Students are feeling that. They're internalizing that because that is something that they were going to be counted on to provide in their profession, and now they can no longer do that because employers are going to be able to access that for free. So where did that value actually go? To the stuff that AI can't do for you. Apply the idea to a real problem. Make the call when the answer is not obvious. Know when the machine is just wrong. That's where we want to shift our focus. So for me, that just changed everything from me presenting information. Here's good things to know for this profession to actually trying to do. If listening, just absorbing information, is now cheap, then the class built around listening has lost value. The move is from listening to doing. The classroom stops being a place where students sit and receive, and it becomes a working studio where they make things, decide things, defend things. And the next few slides are how you actually pull that off. They work in any subject and not just mine. Again, I teach marketing. And so I'm very focused on application and how do we actually see this in the real world. And the first principle here is it's honestly the most useful. Relevance comes before rigor. Students will do hard work. They really will. Trust them to do that. But they'll only do that once they see why it matters to them. So lead with something real. Let the theory earn its place. In practice, I run class like a workshop, not a lecture. The same that I use the same loop that a good coach will use. I teach the concept, we drill it, scrimmage it, give feedback, then run it again. Confidence doesn't come from watching me explain something. It comes from wrestling with it themselves in the room while I'm right there to help. These are always the students' favorite sessions of class when they are getting their hands dirty. They are enjoying, they are in the program, they're trying to break it. They're trying, they're failing, they're succeeding, they're doing all of those things, but it's within the safety of the classroom. And we bring real problems there too. I'll invite guest speakers into the class to present real problems that they're facing in their work, and we'll address it right then and right there with real tools, real application. And then the students learn. They want it, but they need to have the why. The second principle answers the question I always get. If AI just hands them the answers, how do they still learn to think? My answer is what I call the law of why. Don't stop at the first thing that the machine says. Ask why again. Check the mechanics underneath it, and stay willing to be wrong. That kind of skepticism works in any field. When a student understands why something happened, not just the surface answer, they walk out with something they can use anywhere, long after they have forgotten the specific facts. Students need the freedom to make mistakes. We expect learning and growth and improvement, yet students often don't have the opportunity to incorporate feedback and they're learning from failures because they're given the grade on the midterm, for example, and then they just need to move on. Principle three is to give the work a real audience. The strongest version I have found is running the class like an agency where students are producing for actual clients, not for the grade book. On my side, for example, I apply this in different ways in all of my classes. All of my classes are focused on actually doing it, and I do it with the students. I get to ride shotgun; they drive the car, so I can guide them, I can correct, I can offer quick feedback. One of my classes is something called the Huntsman Marketing Association. It's essentially our marketing club here at Utah State, and this past year the students served more than 20 different organizations, actual functioning business across the state of Utah, ranging from very small to massive. I worked my network. I got students paired up with mentors in executive positions at companies like Disney and Amazon, and the students were doing pro bono work that honestly held up next to paid agencies. Some of it even shaped a pro sports team rebrand. So yeah, it requires a little extra legwork on my end, but the outcome is worth everything, and it creates an incredibly effective learning environment. This isn't just a marketing thing. History students can archive a community story. Engineering students can design, can build, can advise for a nonprofit. Real estate can work in any field. Students want real. What is our competitive advantage, our unfair advantage as as a university? Well, students are able to have real experiences and not just pay for the degree that they're getting, but the experience that they're gaining. Let me be straight about AI, just so nobody thinks that this is about bending it. Again, I believe me, I use it every day. I consider AI to be an irreplaceable asset in my teaching, my research, and my work with businesses and nonprofits out there in the real world. I'm not going to let it go. The answer is not to ban it or to worship it. It is about placement, putting it in where a working professional would, and to keep human judgment on top. So here's a method you can steal. Have the students draft and think by hand first. That's where the learning actually happens. Let AI edit or push the work further, and then make them write a short reflection on what changed. why it changed. Do that. Let the assignment become something that they can show off. I built this and here's what happened. Students need to leave a class with something tangible that they can point to with a potential employer to show their real value. Students have a unique ability. This is a remarkable generation that can detect artificial very quickly. They crave tangible. They want something real. And so as we're approaching the end here, here's just kind of a framework that you can steal. Go ahead, take it. Let just design for doing. So, very first, understand what your students actually care about. This is what you will anchor every conversation to. So, we need to first know the students, understand what they're interested in, where they want to work, the nature of the work that they want to do. Understand it deeply, because that's where we're going to build everything. And then we're going to anchor the work that we ask them to do in real states with real stakeholders. Get away from the hypotheticals, make it as real as we possibly can in every scenario. Make their own judgment essential so they can't just coast. We do that in different ways. There's ways to disconnect the deliverable from the AI. And so just uh, find a new way to approach the same old problem, but in such a way that the students are on an island where they get to really use their own work, their own judgment. We want to layer the AI underneath their decisions, not on top of them. It's going to be a part. Let it be a tool. It doesn't replace the human. It just assists the human. Just like a calculator doesn't make us an idiot, we still need to know how to properly approach a mathematical problem in order to be able to make the most of that calculator in front of us. And AI is no different. It is simply a tool, and we need to understand it, and it needs to be a part of the decisions that students are making. We should show them how to use it, not just ask them to use it, and not just restrict them from using it. Show them how. And then finally, we need to measure what matters. The frameworks, the tools, the confidence that they leave with, not just what they can recall. What can, how do we properly measure this? How do we properly assess this? And it can't possibly be limited to simply a test score. It needs to be more. Because at the end of the day, the employer across the table is not going to ask what your score was. They're going to ask, what value do you bring to our organization today? So, what does success actually look like? It's the student that gets to walk out holding something real, frameworks they can defend, tools that they know how to use. Remember those students that were those graduates that were booing at the beginning of this? They weren't rejecting the future. It's not about that. They were asking to be ready for it. That's the whole point. We need to designing for doing is how we answer them and address their needs. So, if you remember three things, make it these. Number one, when you actually ask students, AI barely comes up. AI is merely a symptom. The underlying thing is that they are anxious about whether their work will still matter. There's something deeper here. Number two, you answer that with real hands-on work, experiential learning. AI is sitting underneath their judgment. It's not replacing it. And number three, design for doing gives you a simple way to build it, to understand, anchor, make it essential, layer AI, measure what counts. That's it. Thank you so much. If you are interested in talking about any of these, if you want ideas for assignments and other things like that, I'm very happy to chat with you. Thank you so much.